Hi guys, welcome to Dubs Only Sports. This is episode 22, 22. Um, Make sure to follow us on our social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter at Dubs Only Sports. And then you can also find the full episodes on Spotify and on YouTube by searching up Dubs Only Sports into the search bar. Um, Today first we're gonna dive into this Lakers Celtics game. If you don't know, I'll set the scene for you. Basically, what happened, we have a few seconds left in the Celtics Lakers game. Huge game because the Lakers have been making some moves recently. And they are starting to look like the team that we've kind of been hoping them to be, with players like Westbrook, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Patrick Beverley, all being healthy. Like, obviously, they should be making it to the NBA Finals, but they just haven't been performing too well. So, everyone's like, well, they're not going to do that. And a game like the Celtics in Boston is a very good test for the Lakers. And they knew that coming in. They showed up. And with both teams tied at 105 apiece, LeBron James gets the ball, starts driving in towards the rim, goes for the layup, and Jason Tatum absolutely spanks the crap out of his arm, which is a complete foul, without a doubt in my mind. Foul does not get called. Celtics get the rebound and let the time expire, takes the game into overtime, and the Lakers lose the game in OT by 5 points. So obviously, had LeBron made the layup like he was going to, because the man just cannot miss on layups, but God forbid it's a three-pointer, because that dude is damn near 0.5% on that. If he would have made the layup, then, Lakers win the game, and it's a really good morale thing. But the refs blowing this call against the glorious Lakers. I've got my Pride Lakers jersey on. We had to for this conversation, but how are we feeling about that? About the refs, about what was going on in that situation?
All right, just to get this started, I'm not like a massive Lakers fan. Like I like the Lakers. We're LA. We like the
We're
Lakers to
forced
play.
to be Lakers fans, but like, to be fair, we're not Lakers fans. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily support a team in the NBA. If I had to choose, I'd probably choose the Celtics, like, to be fair. But
Now onwards, I'm not just to preface, I'm not a huge Lakers fan, but that call was that non-call was absolutely ridiculous. I mean,
yep.
when you're watching that game live, it was crazy because the previous possession, the Lakers were winning and the Celtics tied it. And I think that Jaylen Brown got fouled and it was kind of a weak foul and they gave him the extra foul, whatever, fine. The game is
Mm-hmm.
tied. LeBron James is going to the lane, about to make a layup to win the game, and just so blatantly gets slapped on the arm by Tatum. It was so obvious. And for it to
Yeah.
be not called, for LeBron James to after have like literally throw a tantrum about it and for them to still not call a foul, which because in the NBA, which is different than college basketball. In the NBA, if players complain, sometimes after a few seconds they give the foul because they realize that they missed the foul.
Yeah.
LeBron James like literally threw a hissy fit about it, and they
Yep.
still didn't give him the call. And it was crazy because I'm like, if he was that convinced that he got fouled, he had to have got fouled. Because I've
Yeah,
never seen
exactly. For a
someone
guy like
throw that.
LeBron,
Yeah, for a guy like LeBron, I know
composed.
everyone makes fun of him for to like go crazy, but for him, he gets fouled a ton and they don't call it. He gets fouled a ton and they just like let it go because he's so big, so strong. They can't call a foul on every single play. But for him to throw that much of a tantrum on that play, everyone knew that it was a foul because he would not have done that unless he knew for 100% certain that it was a foul. And then they didn't call the foul. It goes to overtime. The Celtics win, and the Lakers just completely gave up in overtime. And the best part about this whole situation was that Patrick Beverley, the absolute savage that he is, goes and takes the camera from the camera person, walks up to the referee that didn't call the play, shows him the camera, and gets a technical. So going into overtime, the Celtics are winning 106 to 105 because they got a technical free throw. It was hilarious. I mean, it sucks for the Lakers because the Lakers have had a terrible season, but in the last few weeks, they've kind of been turning it on and they look like a competent team that can win games. And it's just been really bad luck for them recently. Against the Mavs, Luka hit a step back three to tie the game, and then they didn't call a foul against Troy Brown Jr. When he was shooting the three and it was clearly a foul, but they didn't call a foul. They would have won that game. Then against the Sixers, they would have won that game, but Westbrook got fouled by Embiid. They didn't call anything, got clearly slapped on the arm. And then this game for LeBron James to get clearly blatantly hit and not to call a foul. I mean, if they won against the Mavs, against the Sixers, against the Celtics, three of the best teams in the NBA, it would have shown how good the Lakers are and it would have really helped them as like a momentum boost.
Mhm.
And for them to lose all these games, they still should feel good about themselves because they played well over the last few weeks. But it's just very unfortunate because they didn't deserve to lose any of those games. And I know in the last episode we were talking about not making excuses about the referees and not blaming the referees. And I agree from that standpoint, but in this case, these calls were so blatantly obvious that it was ridiculous that they weren't called. But on the other hand, I was disappointed with how the Lakers came out in overtime. They completely gave up. They didn't look like they cared. They got down early because the Celtics made a few shots, and
Mhm.
they had no sense of urgency. They weren't pushing the ball down the court. They were letting the Celtics get easy layups. And it just like, I understand that the LeBron James call was terrible and it went to overtime and they should have won the game. But once you get to overtime and they make that bad call, they don't make the call and you go to overtime, you have to flush what happened before and you have to move on to overtime and you have to perform in overtime. And they didn't do that. So I think
Mhm.
that the Lakers culture needs to improve because in the playoffs, something like that happens, you need to be able to respond. And they were not able to respond. So that's the only thing I feel like the Lakers could have done a little bit more to bounce back from that bad call and actually show some grit and toughness in overtime. And they look like they just gave up, but
Yeah.
it wasn't really their fault. I think the NBA referees came out after and said that they made a mistake, but it begs the question like why don't they just review all these plays at the end of the game? There's no reason not
Mhm.
to. You have the technology to. Why like earlier in the period, early in the quarter, they challenged a call, they won the challenge. Why do you not get another challenge? It doesn't make sense to me that if you win the challenge, you don't get another challenge.
Yeah.
It just the whole situation was dumb. The NBA referees, we already talked about them earlier for giving technical fouls to every single player that's played in the
Which they're
NBA,
still doing.
which
Steph
they're
Curry
still
threw his
doing.
mouth guard and
Still,
was
yeah,
given a
and
technical and thrown out
ejected,
of the
yeah.
game. Like,
So
come
they're
on, bro.
still
Seriously?
they're still doing that, but yeah, this game it was a nationally televised game. Lakers Celtics, the biggest rivalry in the NBA's history, basically, and
Yeah.
for this to happen, it's very unfortunate. It was a big momentum shift because the Lakers deserved to win that game. They were the better team, and it's just unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's one regular season game in the NBA. I always say
Yep.
the NBA regular season means absolutely nothing. People might disagree with me, but it's basically a joke because once you get to the playoffs, the regular season means absolutely nothing.
Yep.
8 out of the 15 teams make the or 10 out of the 15 teams make the playoffs. So you basically just have to be not terrible to make the playoffs. And the
Yep.
seeding doesn't really matter as we've discussed earlier because in previous years it made a huge difference because the Warriors and Rockets and Cavs with LeBron James were so much better than the other teams that if you were an 8 seed, you couldn't move on. Whereas if you were a 4 or 5 seed, you'd have a chance. In this NBA, especially in the West, if you're the 1 seed or you're the 8 seed, there's not that big of a separation. The Nuggets are the 1 seed, the Grizzlies are the 2 seed, the Warriors right now are the 8 seed. I don't think anyone disagrees with me when I say that the Warriors are better than the Grizzlies. Like
Yeah.
it's just it doesn't really matter this year because there's so much injuries. I mean, even if you look at the Lakers, if the Lakers make it to the playoffs and they find a rhythm and they find a groove, no one's gonna want to play an 8 or 9 seed Lakers team with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, uh Russell Westbrook. They just added Rui Hachimura. If they get any more shooters, they
We.
have they have Patrick Beverly. They have guys. They have so much talent on that team. They need some shooters, but if they get some shooters, like no one's gonna want to face that team. So
Yeah.
that's why I always say it's not a huge deal. It's of course it's not great that they're missing that blatantly obvious call and it cost them the game. But in the long run, maybe it'll galvanize the Lakers. Maybe they'll want to prove a point. Maybe it'll show some grit and toughness and make
Yeah.
it far. Make just get an identity that really pushes them on to success in the next few weeks and gets them into the postseason. Maybe can make some noise. But moving on
Whoa.
from
Whoa.
bad referee. You want to
Whoa.
stay? You want to stay with this? I'm going quick today. I'm going.
I know. Let me just say one thing. Damn. You've been talking this whole time. Hold up. Whoa. Let me just say, all right. Patrick Beverly, a menace for starters. Love Patrick Beverly, love the energy. But with the referees, I feel like it's very big of them to admit that they're wrong right after the
Yes.
game for starters and then to tweet it out. But I feel like it's about time that we had robotic referees and umpires. And I feel like it starts with baseball because baseball is simply put the easiest sport to have to input a robotic umpire system. Whereas, basketball, it's a little bit more complicated. Obviously, it's harder to see the explicit things like seeing someone's wrist being seeing someone's wrist being slapped things like that, like the very small things. And the same thing goes for other sports like football, like hockey, all these other sports where it's like there's very nitty gritty things. Whereas baseball, you got balls, you got strikes, and you got outs. That's pretty much it. So we got to input these robotic referees right about now. But continuing on.
Yeah. Now, I'll just add on something to that. I agree. I mean, I don't know if they should be robotic referees, but I feel like
They
they
should
should
just need
definitely
an
make some.
earpiece. They just
They should
need an
have an
earpiece.
earpiece. I feel like there should definitely be like the challenges should be adjusted because there's no reason for there to only be one challenge regardless of if you win it or lose it. Some of the rules are dumb. They should be adjusted. They have the technology. They should use it.
Yeah.
But now moving on in the NFL, we just had the AFC and NFC championship wrap up. The Eagles and Chiefs are going to face off in the Super Bowl, but some other teams that did not make it to the Super Bowl, not even the playoffs, had some big time quarterbacks. We had the Raiders with Derek Carr, the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, and both of those quarterbacks are most likely going to leave their teams. Definitely the Raiders case, Derek Carr will 100% not be a Las Vegas Raider next year. On the other hand, Aaron Rodgers could stay in Green Bay, but it's looking like they want to put Jordan Love in and they want to get some draft picks for Aaron Rodgers. So we're going to try to predict which teams these two good QBs, star QBs, are going to go to. So let's start off with Derek Carr. Where do you think Derek Carr is going to end up next year?
Okay, well, for starters, I would just like to say off the bat that I could see Derek Carr going to either the Texans and the Colts, because as we know, the Colts is where quarterbacks go to die, for starters. And on the Texans case, the Texans just need a quarterback at this point because they're still rebuilding, but they obviously like want to win games. And Derek Carr would be a fit for that. Maybe not a great fit, but maybe a fit. But if you want my honest and hard hitting opinion, I can genuinely see Derek Carr playing football this April.
Don't even say this, dude. Don't even say this though. Don't say it, bro.
Who in their right mind is going to go, yes, trade for Derek Carr? Who and the Raiders
He's
even
a
said
good
it.
quarterback. Are you stupid?
He's he's an okay. He's not mobile.
He's one of the top like 20, 30, 25 quarterback. He's one of the top 20 quarterbacks in the NFL.
You understand there are like 32 teams in the nation, right?
Yeah. So if you're a top 20 quarterback, you need a job. Like
Yeah,
there's
but
no
every team has a quarterback besides the
okay, but
Colts.
he's an improvement. He's an improvement over the other quarterbacks. What are you saying, bro? You just said the Colts and the Texans, bro. You've lost your living mind, bro.
How have I
Okay,
lost my mind?
you've
Bro, if he's not
lost
going
your
to the
mind.
USFL, if he's not going to the USFL, he's going to go to the Colts. That's my opinion.
Why would he go to the okay? No, the Colts are gonna draft QB. That's a terrible take. I don't know what the
They're
hell
not going to
you're
draft a
saying.
QB. Look at what they've done
He's
the
gonna
past few
go.
years.
Listen. He's gonna go. They have the fourth overall pick, bro. He's gonna go to either the Washington Commanders or the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr should go to either the Washington Commanders or the New Orleans Saints. Let's go through this, okay? So the
Oh
Washington
my
Commanders,
God.
they have Terry McLaurin. They have a good run game. Their offensive line is improving.
Yep.
They've been having Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell and Carson Wentz play. Get them out of there. Put Derek Carr in there. Their defense is up and coming. They have tons of D linemen. Chase Young is a stud. He's been injured, but he's a stud. They've had a good defense. They've had a good defense for years. If they get Derek Carr, they are one of the. They're definitely at that point probably better than the Giants. They'll probably be like still the third best team. Maybe they could be the second best team in the NFC East behind the Eagles next year if Derek Carr becomes the quarterback of the Commanders. The Cowboys are going downhill. I'm not gonna lie. I don't see
Whoa.
the
Okay.
Cowboys.
Wait.
And then
Hang. Whoa.
okay,
No. 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 No.
okay,
No. No.
okay.
No. No. Let me ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
When was the last time we saw Washington in the playoffs?
Well, they made it a few years ago against Tom Brady and they lost but that was stupid because that division was terrible. But they made
Okay.
it with Kirk
Year before
Cousins.
that.
But It's the same thing when you look at when was the last time the Jaguars made the playoffs? They made it
No,
one
no, no,
time.
no,
Like,
no, 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 no. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. Whoa. There's a point to this. There's a thing to
okay,
this, right? The Commanders, right, and their former alliances, right,
yeah,
have been bad for a while now, right? With Kirk
yeah,
Cousins, they've been bad,
yeah.
right?
They
And
were a decent team when they had Kirk Cousins. They were a playoff
they were
team.
okay, but they weren't like,
They're like ten
anything
and
great.
seven. They're
Yeah.
like 10-6. They're
Yeah.
9-7, 10-6.
So yes, and as an Eagles fan, right, as a guy who supports a team in the same division as the Commanders, right, I have been able to follow the Commanders closely because obviously I care more about the teams in my own division than teams in other divisions, and especially in other conferences that I don't really care about, right? So
Yeah.
teams like the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Commanders, I follow closely because we play those teams twice a year. They make up, they make up a small percentage of our season, but still it's
Six
important because
six
we play
games,
them
six out
every,
of seven, 6 out of 17 games. Yeah.
So the Commanders, the reason why they are not good is because they never know what a good option is for their team. That's why they have Carson Wentz as their quarterback. That's why they have three quarterbacks that are all
Yeah.
just as mid as one another for starters. So what makes you think, and you're right, Matt, and like especially recently, Washington have drafted some of the worst draft picks imaginable just from watching the draft.
Ooh.
So what makes you think that all of a sudden the Commanders are just going to realize that they need to get someone good and get Derek Carr?
They need a quarterback. They know they need a quarterback. So
No, they don't though. They don't
they
know that
do.
they need a quarterback
Well,
because
they
they look at
should.
Carson Wentz and they go,
Well,
"He's our quarterback." They
this
look
is
at
where I
Taylor
think
Heineke.
this is what I think they should do. Again, this is the same kind of thing. I'll get into the Saints later, but I think these teams should look to get Derek Carr. Like if you look at the Saints, they have Jameis
The Saints
Winston,
make
who
sense.
the Saints make sense, but the problem is they have cap issues, so the money might be an issue. They might not be able to sign a lot of players, but
Yeah,
um
but you shouldn't be signing Derek Carr for that much, anyways.
yeah, but they need to figure out a way to get around that. But there's ways to get this stuff done, but it depends. If you look at it, they have Jameis Winston. Everyone liked the Saints preseason to be really good in the NFC this year, but I never thought they were going to be that good because Jameis Winston is not that good of a quarterback. Like I know he got injured and there were some issues. They had Andy Dalton playing, but he turns the ball over way too much. He's not that great. I don't know. His hype was a little crazy. Whatever. It's like kind of like Marcus Mariota and all these guys that were really good in college and they didn't turn out great. So if we look at this, if he goes to the Saints, Derek Carr goes to the Saints. They have a
Yeah.
solid offensive line. They have one of the
Yeah.
best defenses in the NFL. And
Mm-hmm.
Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara are two of the best skill position players in the NFL. I know Michael Thomas has been hurt for years now, for
Mm-hmm.
years. Since they had those runs that when they almost made it to the Super Bowl, he's been hurt. Alvin Kamara is one of the best running backs in football, but he is getting worn down. So if they're able to somehow keep Alvin Kamara, they don't trade. Hope if they don't trade him, if they're able to keep Kamara, if they're able to find another running back, if they put Derek Carr in there, and they re-sign Michael Thomas. I don't understand why they wouldn't re-sign Michael Thomas because he basically is not. I don't know that. I'm not exactly sure about the situation. He's getting hurt a ton. They might just release him, but I just try it because he has when he's there, he has so much talent. If
Yeah.
they're able to keep that whole thing, I think that they could be a playoff team, the best team in the NFC South because the NFC South is a absolutely
Yeah.
abysmal division.
That's the
So I feel
biggest
like
part about
yeah,
your little trade offer for Derek Carr to go
yeah,
to the Saints because the
I feel like
Saints
they make the playoffs are a lock.
will naturally be a powerhouse because that's 6 automatic wins, and for the NFC South,
Yeah,
that's all you need in order to win the
yeah,
division.
yeah. If they get to 9 wins, 10 wins, 8 wins, they'll win the division.
Six wins, they'll win the division.
So yeah, I think
I
that they're
don't even doubt. Literally, the NFC South, both
yeah,
Souths are atrocious,
atrocious.
especially with Tom Brady like leaving the Buccaneers. That's
Yeah,
done. The Panthers have been a dumpster fire for years
yeah.
now.
Since Cam Newton, and then
I
the
can't
Falcons
even.
are
The
since they lost
Falcons,
28-3 in the Super Bowl.
they haven't recovered.
Woo! So yeah, I think that it would be good for the Saints to get him. They have some issues with like their salary cap and money, so if they might not be able to afford him, but if he's somehow able to finagle a way to get to the Saints, I think that would be a good fit.
Yeah,
But I don't know what the hell you're saying with him going to the Colts or Texans. Both those teams are going to draft a quarterback. They are saying that they are
but yeah, yes, the
possible
Texans.
places for.
The Texans obviously
The
like
Colts are the
could.
number 4 overall pick. The first overall pick is Jalen Carter, the defensive lineman from Georgia, is going to go in the top 5. And then there's 3 quarterbacks: Will Levis, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. If I'm
Yep.
the Colts, I am taking one of those damn quarterbacks because I do not have a quarterback right now.
When was the
Matty
last time the
Ice,
Colts drafted a quarterback?
Andrew Luck. How did it work out?
Precisely. Do you think they're going to do that again?
They need to. They have no other option. They might trade up in the draft. I don't see a
Derek
reason.
Carr.
Derek
Derek
Carr. No, that's
Carr. Dude, they've been
atrocious.
trading for quarterbacks. They had a top 10
Work.
pick last
How does it
year, and
work?
they traded for Matty Ice.
How has it worked when they got how did it work when they had Carson Wentz?
Didn't work.
Yeah. How did it work with Matty Ice?
Clearly hasn't worked.
Okay. How did it work when they got Philip Rivers? That was the best one out of the 3. It kind of worked. It kind of didn't work.
Philip
So
Rivers was not the best one out of the 3. Are you kidding me? When you're comparing Philip Rivers,
Philip Rivers
Carson Wentz, and Matt
and
Ryan,
Matty Ice, he had the best year on the Colts out of those 3 by far. They made it to the playoffs. They played a competitive game in Buffalo. That was definitely the best season they had. Andrew Luck was the best quarterback that the Colts have had. Then they got Philip Rivers, solid season. Then they traded.
yeah, I
Then
forgot
he
that happened.
retired. Yeah, exactly. Then he retired. Then they got Carson Wentz, terrible. Then they got Matty Ice, terrible. So they need to draft the QB. I don't hear any of that crap. That's some BS. But I'm saying Derek Carr to the Saints or the Commanders. One of those
The
two teams
Saints,
should
the
pick him up.
Saints, I can see. The Commanders, absolutely that no shot. He goes to the Commanders. They're not gonna trade for another QB after they stepped out of their comfort zone a little bit and traded for Carson Wentz, who was
They need to
already an
cut
in
Carson
division
Wentz. They need to cut
quarterback.
him. They need to cut him. They need to cut him. He's a
Okay, and
joke.
then they're gonna be, oh, but Heineke is our quarterback.
Yeah, cut him too. Trash.
No
And then
quarterbacks, just Derek Carr.
Sam Howell. Yeah, just Derek Carr. Yeah. All right. And then we move on to the guy that we were talking crap about earlier in the year.
The fraud of the hour?
The fraud of the NFL, Aaron Rodgers, the biggest fraud of them all. He
April
didn't
football.
even make the playoffs after winning back-to-back MVPs. Didn't even make the playoffs this year with the Packers. Now the Packers are looking to put Jordan Love, their first-round pick from 5 years ago, into the quarterback spot. They have a promising team. If they have Jordan Love in the quarterback spot and then they're able to get some picks for Aaron Rodgers, they could be a very viable team. They'll probably win the NFC North next year. Them and the Lions will be the 2 top teams in that division. But where do you think that Aaron Rodgers should and will get traded to?
So, here's what's gonna happen. Aaron Rodgers. Remember, okay, Eli Manning, right?
Yeah.
He did that whole thing and impersonated some like up and coming quarterback, went to Penn State's facility, tried out for the team, tried getting on the team, just like a practical, a
A
prank,
meme.
basically.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
just for the fun of it, just for the jokes. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to do the same thing as Eli Manning, but take it seriously. He's going to go back to Cal and he's going to play at Cal.
I was looking for like an actual answer, but like I guess not. I mean,
Dude, if you want an actual answer, like I have not thought about this long enough to like even
yeah. Do
like
you want me to
come
go
up.
ahead and then you think about it?
I mean, like the team that like first comes to mind, and well, no, because that doesn't really. I was gonna okay, if I'm being honest to you, and I'm being brutally honest to everyone out there, the first team that came to my mind. I'm not saying that this is like what I think, but the first thing that came to mind to me were the Buccaneers, just so that they could replace Tom Brady with
What?
somebody. Yeah,
Oh my
just the
God,
first
bro.
team that came to mind. But you go and let me think about it, and I'll have an answer by the time you're done with your stupid little rant about some team that will never get Aaron Rodgers in a million billion. You're probably gonna say, oh, let me he's gonna go to the where's Aaron Rodgers gonna go? You're gonna say that he's gonna go to like the Eagles.
So let's go get into this. Let's let Will digest the question, let his slow brain process this question. And
Slow brain.
slow brain, bro. Eagles fans,
Eagles
bro.
over the Giants by 2 scores. Eagles over the Giants.
Eagles.
Who said that? I did. TCU. Bums. Who said that? That's right. Don't forget.
All right, so let's get into this. In my opinion, the New York Jets should trade for Aaron Rodgers because honestly, I don't see any other spot that Aaron Rodgers should genuinely go to. Because if you look at it from this perspective, the Jets have not won a single thing in like 45, 50 years. They are the most irrelevant franchise alongside the Browns in the
Yeah.
NFL.
Hmm.
It's been bad. They're in New York City and they can't win. And it's just, you can't be in that city and not win. It's pathetic. So I feel like they need to change the culture up. They need to get a quarterback that actually is competent, unlike Zach Wilson, to be their quarterback. They need to cut Zach Wilson, trade for Aaron Rodgers. And everyone's going to say, hey, why should the Jets trade for Aaron Rodgers if you said that Aaron Rodgers is a fraud? You know why? Because he's the only option. Right now, they have Zach Wilson as their quarterback. Zach Wilson's not even a fraud. He's just a bum. Like that's just I'm sorry, he's just a bum. Like that's all it is. But if we move on, Aaron Rodgers is a fraud
Oh
100%. But
my
like
God.
at least he's a good quarterback. Everyone's gonna say, "What? Well, you said he's a fraud. How could he be a good quarterback?" There's a difference between being a fraud and a good quarterback. When I said fraud, I meant that he doesn't perform well in the playoffs because he's a very good quarterback that underperforms with expectations. That's my point. He's the Cowboys of quarterbacks. So, yeah, I just think it's a good fit. The Jets are a good fit for Aaron Rodgers because they just signed that coach, Nathaniel Hackett, the absolute bum from Denver. So they have the connection there. That's the only reason I see the Jets signing that guy. Why would they sign such a bad coach for anything, whatever? And then you look at their team, solid defense, very solid defense, and they have a decent O line that'll get healthier and it'll get better. They have receivers like Garrett Wilson. They have guys. They have guys at the receiver position that can make plays. And then their run game with Brees Hall next year is going to be strong. So it's the team, a young team that hasn't won anything. They don't really have any other options. They need a quarterback now because they have a good team now and they can't wait for the future to get a good quarterback because they're going to sacrifice the prime years of Brees Hall, of Sauce Gardner, of Quinnen Williams, of all these good players. They're going to sacrifice those years. So they need to get a good quarterback now. If Rodgers doesn't retire, I think he should go to the Jets because he stays there 1, 2 years. If he wins the Super Bowl, then he could shut me up with the fraud remarks. When he doesn't win the Super Bowl there, the fraud remarks will be correct. But it's fine. I mean, it gives him an opportunity to improve his legacy, to actually win something in his career besides the one Super Bowl that he won in his like second season. It gives him a chance to he's not going to win in Green Bay right now. He needs a fresh start. And the last point I'll make about the Jets is that New York is a big media market. We saw Zach Wilson struggle there because he had trouble answering questions from the media. Aaron Rodgers, love him or hate him, he will not be scared by the New York media. He will answer all the questions however he so chooses. He'll say whatever he wants. He'll get into trouble. He won't get into trouble. He'll do whatever he wants. He doesn't care. And I just feel like for New York City, you need a quarterback and someone that can deal with the media because a lot of quarterbacks they're not equipped to this. You've seen this. The Knicks have signed tons of players in the past that they go to New York and they're completely a shell of themselves because they can't handle the pressure in New York. Aaron Rodgers will be able to handle the pressure in New York. I don't know how well he'll perform or how well the team will do, but he will be able to hand the intense pressure of New York. But I don't see any other good option for him. I mean, genuinely.
So now that my small little brain has been able to
Because you're saying, oh, the
digest all the
49ers. Ooh, he should go to the 49ers.
I mean, no, imagine. Okay, so I've thought about it and I've got 3 teams. I can't, I feel like all 3 of these teams are kind of like in the same kind of boat. Off the bat, I don't know like what their cap salaries are. I don't know where they're at like salary wise. So, like this is just purely based off of like how they are as a team, how they did this year, and like how I feel like Aaron Rodgers could be like that missing puzzle piece that could do it for the particular teams that I talk about. So I'm gonna list off 3 teams, Dylan, And you tell me if I am far off, because yes, I feel like what you say about the Jets, and especially with their new hire, it definitely makes a lot of sense for Aaron Rodgers to go to the Jets. And we were talking about maybe Tom Brady going to a team like the Jets or the Dolphins, and I feel like we kind of concluded that he'll probably go to the Dolphins. So having Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, that makes sense, right? And the Jets, let's say four teams, and the Jets is one of my teams that he would go to. I agree with that. That makes sense. Having Aaron Rodgers go to the Jets makes a lot of sense. To stir the pot a little bit and to just like add some spice in there, I'm going to list off three teams there: Steelers, Titans, and Falcons.
I'll respond to that quickly. I think that the Falcons, no, because I don't think they're that good, so I don't see why he would go there. The
Fine.
Titans make some sense, but I just think that they're all old. They're a very old team that's on the decline. They have like a lot of their
Yeah, look at
offensive
Aaron
line.
Rodgers.
Yeah, I understand that, but he needs to go to a team that can help him, not hurt him. He needs someone he needs a team that can surround him with better
He's on the
talent. So
Packers.
I know, but you get with the Titans. Derrick Henry is getting older, and he's going to get hurt. He's getting hurt. The offensive line is not that good, and the defense
Yeah.
is good. But the Titans are a potential one, but I just don't know if he really fits into that culture. And then the Steelers, I don't see it, man. I mean, I get what you're saying because they need a quarterback. Kenny
Yeah.
Pickett actually looked good at the end of the year, so I think they're going to try to stick it out with Kenny Pickett. Um,
Hopefully. Like you can only hope. But
yeah,
like it would make
he does
sense.
not fit into Mike Tomlin's culture at all. Their defense is tough. I think their defense is improving. Their defense is pretty good. I feel like if Kenny Pickett can get improved, if their wide receiver and running back weapons can improve, if they can draft some guys with some more speed and talent, they could be a formidable team. But I think that maybe the Titans, maybe, but I don't know.
Hold up. We should not be writing off the Steelers this quickly. I mean, literally, you bring up
They
Mike
have Kenny
Tomlin.
Pickett.
I know, no, I understand that. I understand that. But like, and you said like Kenny Pickett was like pretty decent towards the end of the
Fine. They
year.
what they ended the year like hot.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, but I feel like, like the Steelers would be the type of team to be like, okay, Kenny Pickett, have a seat. Look at Aaron Rodgers, do him. And you want to bring up Mike Tomlin? Bro, every time I think of Mike Tomlin, I think of the "we do not care" clip. That is Aaron Rodgers all
Yeah,
day.
but it's a difference between like Mike Tomlin saying we do not care as like he wants the locker room to be together, not care about what the outside media says. But I feel like Aaron Rodgers is like different in the sense that he just doesn't care at all, and he doesn't even care about his teammates. Like, and in Pittsburgh, they have a culture, they have a team, they have an identity. Aaron Rodgers is all about himself. I mean, that guy
Okay.
is smoking cigars and going crazy on drugs in South America during this in the Amazon rainforest during the summer. I mean, my man doesn't give a crap about what's going on. My
Okay,
dude just
maybe.
wants to get paid. He just wants to get his money, smoke some cigars, go on the Pat
Yeah.
McAfee show every week,
Yeah.
and say whatever he wants to say. So I just don't think the Steelers want that kind of publicity, that kind of extra stuff. They don't really need it because if they add Aaron Rodgers, they're still not Super Bowl contenders, so it doesn't really help them. And if they have Kenny Pickett, at least they'll be working to something in the future. So I don't
Yeah.
see the Steelers, but maybe
All right.
the
Well,
Titans. Out of those three, I think
if
the Titans
I
are a possibility.
if I have to dumb it down, then I'll go Titans because Titans, I feel like, I feel like Titans are very much like a carbon copy of like the Packers. And I feel like that comfortability is something. I mean, you look at it, they've got a strong running back and a strong O line. And the defense is like,
Oh no,
meh.
their Titans O line, the Titans O line has gotten hurt this year. So the Titans O line was terrible this year. They might get better next year, but they were not good this year.
Yeah, they struggled this year, but like in the years prior,
In
especially with
years
like
past, they've been good. Yes.
What Ryan Tannehill was having to deal with, and even like back when Marcus Mariota was first drafted to the Titans, it was pretty strong.
Also, they have Tannehill paid right now, so they can't. It's kind of be hard for them to pay Aaron Rodgers because
Yeah, that's why I don't know what like the financial situations are of this
yeah,
team. I'm just looking at it as like, if I have to pick a
yeah,
team just to like
yeah,
stir it up a little bit, then sure. But yeah, the Jets makes the most sense. I would not be surprised if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, but if he goes to the Titans, called it.
yeah.
Or
And then
if he goes to the Steelers, because part
maybe
of me.
yeah.
Anyways,
And then getting onto a team that their fans just absolutely have no loyalty to the quarterbacks in the building. The San Francisco 49ers this year have made it to the NFC Championship, have a top two roster in the NFL alongside the Eagles, absolutely stacked with talent. They have Debo Samuel. They have Christian McCaffrey. They have Brandon Ayuk. On the running back position, they have Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey. Their offensive line is Trent Williams and tons of all pros. Their defense, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. I mean, they're just a stacked roster. And that right now, Trey Lance was the number 3 overall pick, and he got hurt in the second game. Jimmy G came in, got hurt,
Week
out for
10.
the season, broke his foot. Then Brock Purdy in the NFC Championship yesterday tore his UCL on a sack. Then their fourth string, Josh Johnson, got a concussion. So when we look at this,
Can we just point out really quickly? There's a common trend here. Like the physical trainers at San Francisco.
yeah, they need some new physical therapists there because all their QBs are getting injured.
What
Some
is
of them freak
happening?
injuries. But for them to have 4 quarterbacks get injured out for the season, and that's just crazy. I mean, the Eagles had their quarterback for the whole year. The Chiefs had their quarterback for the whole year. One quarterback. For this team to have 4 quarterbacks get hurt, crazy, but maybe they should work on their physical therapist. But the 49ers fans have no loyalty because now they're calling for the San Francisco 49ers to sign Tom Brady. Like,
Yep.
you have 3 quarterbacks. I
They're
know Jimmy
all-
G's a free agent and they probably
Yeah.
won't re-sign him. But even if you don't have Jimmy G, you still have Trey Lance, who you drafted number 3 overall a few years ago, who hasn't played at all in the NFL. So you can't write him off yet. He's had like 2 games. He's had like 1 full game and half another game. So you can't write him off. He was the starter to start the year. There's a reason they had him as the starter. And then the backup, Brock Purdy, came in and won 7 games in a row. So you can't, they move on quick. And then now all these fans are like, oh, they should sign Tom Brady. They should sign Tom Brady. They should sign Tom Brady.
With what space? What?
I don't know. Like when you look at it from both sides, let's look at it from both sides. If they sign Tom Brady, they are probably the favorites in the NFC alongside the Eagles. Like they're both they're co-favorites. They're co-favorites to win the NFC. The Eagles have a tough schedule next year. If the 49ers have home field advantage in the
Brutal
playoffs,
schedule.
if the 49ers have home field advantage in the postseason, I think that the 49ers could definitely beat the Eagles in San Francisco. If it's in Philly, different conversation. In San Francisco, 49ers are probably the favorites in the NFC if they're able to retain all their guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they're probably Super Bowl favorites if they sign Tom Brady. But Brady is old. He's going to be almost 47 years old. So, who knows? Who knows how he'll play? They have a better offensive line, a better attack. So, maybe he'll be good. Maybe he'll be not. But let's look at it from this perspective. You still have Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. What do you do with them? I mean, Brock Purdy's not
Bench.
getting paid anything. So, it's not bad. You could have Tom Brady. Yeah, you could have Brock Purdy learn under Tom Brady, be the backup, and then if Brady retires, you put Purdy back in and you let him do what he did this year, just continue to play well and improve. So maybe the Brady Purdy thing could work out. The problem rises with Trey Lance. Trey Lance got drafted at number 3 overall, ahead of Mac Jones, ahead of Justin Fields. Why? Because they thought his talent was through the roof and he had like Patrick Mahomes level talent. Okay. So if that's what they thought 3 years ago, they might have been wrong. They might have made a mistake. But if that's what they thought, you got to give Trey Lance a chance. Because I know they have a great roster right now. But if they had they can see how he recovers from the injury. But if he had that much talent and he was just that good of a quarterback with all the skills and all the weapons and everything, he should be able to succeed on the 49ers. So, in my opinion, I would give Trey Lance an opportunity. Everyone's going to say, put Brock Purdy in there to start the season. I think they need to have a QB battle during camp between Purdy and Lance. Whoever looks better gets the job. Purdy was great at the end of the year, but in my opinion, any quarterback in the NFL could have done well with that 49ers team in those last 7 games. Purdy played very well, but there were some clear plays where his arm is not strong enough. The ball he doesn't have a tight spiral. He made some questionable throws that could have easily been intercepted. But he does, for being the last pick in the draft, he has a lot of promise, a lot of upside. So I genuinely think he could be a starting quarterback in this league. Someone like Ryan Tannehill level. So I feel like he does have a chance to be a solid QB, but I would let Trey Lance, with all the talent, show what he can do. If he's trash like Zach Wilson, if he's bad, you put Brock Purdy in, you try it next year, and then maybe the next year you could either try to draft a QB or trade for a QB. Who knows? But to sign Tom Brady, it might work depending on if Brady wants to come back to his like home area and just sign for cheaper and try to win a Super Bowl in his last year and then retire. Fine, it might work out. Like it's a decent fit. I just don't understand if you have that many quarterbacks, you can't just like what are you gonna do with all of them?
Hmm. Yeah, and I feel like the most important thing, like every 49ers fan was on this like BCB bandwagon about, him being QB1 next year. Like it was basically set in stone that he was going to be the starting quarterback over Trey Lance and over Jimmy Garoppolo, keeping in mind that he, like, let's say he gets signed again, signs an extension and is playing next year. They were still going to go with Brock Purdy as QB1. Now, all of a sudden, they lose the game. And the weird thing is that, like, people are saying that Brock Purdy is soft and that, like, how he was barely touched
Yeah,
and, like, the injury. It's like, do you understand what happened? And I feel like the commentators were trying to make a really good point about how, yes, it seems like a very small injury, but the nerves that are connected from the hand to your elbow are vital. And the fact that
yeah,
his arm snapped the way it did on the fumble, that is not something you want to see. And he even said in his press conference that gripping the ball and throwing the ball just hurt like hell. So the fact that
yeah.
I'm seeing all these washed up, retired old men sitting on Twitter and Facebook telling me that Brock Purdy is soft,
Yeah,
it's kind
it's
of annoying
crazy.
because it's like, how would you know? You know?
Yeah. No, yeah, it's true. Because what happens, I've had some experience with some elbow issues, not gonna lie, but there's many things that can happen. So in this case, he was throwing the ball and his arm was torqued back in the back position, and he got sacked, so his arm got held back in that position. All the torque and force was pushing his arm that way, which
Yeah.
pushed his shoulder back, pushed his elbow back. His
Yep.
elbow also got jammed inwards. And the
Yeah.
thing is, there's a lot of nerves. There's the ulnar nerve, which goes through your elbow here. There's the median nerve, which goes here. If the ulnar nerve gets compressed, you can't feel your pinky or your ring finger, and your elbow feels like numb. So you can't throw the ball because you can't get any grip of the ball. And then
Hmm.
in his case, he tore his UCL, which is the tendon in his elbow that allows him to generate the torque that his elbow is that helps his throw the ball. So the fact that he tore his UCL yesterday, which we see in baseball a lot more than we do in football. In
Yeah.
baseball, that injury, Tommy John, you get Tommy John surgery, you're out for usually 13 to 15 months. Sometimes you come back within a year if you're a pitcher, but usually pitchers take without around 15 months to come back from Tommy John. We look at it in this case. In football, it's a little easier because the ball is a bigger ball. It's less force being transferred from the ball when you throw it. So it's not as significant in football as it is in baseball because you're not throwing the ball as fast and it's a bigger ball. And it's a little different, but for them to be criticizing Brock Purdy for not throwing, not playing, and for not showing enough guts to come back in the game,
It's just such a
that's
terrible
a
fan
season.
base. It's a
It's a
horrible
terrible.
fan base.
It's a terrible fit. It's also like people get injured in sports. It's one thing if you have like an ankle sprain, you should play on that. Like
Yeah.
Mahomes had the high ankle sprain, and that's a high ankle sprain that usually takes 4 weeks to get better. But he came and played because he wanted to help his team. In this
Hmm.
case, Brock Purdy, this is a 6 month injury. He probably needs surgery, and for them to be like, oh, like he needs to come back now because we need to win this game. Like, dude, he can't throw the ball. He was trying to throw the ball on the sideline. They kept showing video, but he obviously couldn't throw the ball because his ligament is torn. Like his
Yeah.
arm is literally like in shambles. So I don't know. I feel like the 49ers fans should be a little more loyal to their quarterback. They need to
To their
understand
team
that
a little bit.
to their team. They need to understand that what happened yesterday was terrible luck and absolutely a horrible situation, but they can't really do anything about it. It is what it is, bad luck. And next year they should try to come back with their two good quarterbacks and try to figure out which one's better, put them in a good position to win and win because that team with one of those quarterbacks can win a Super Bowl. So they just need to figure it out. I feel like from the inside, I don't think they need an external quarterback, but if they want to sign one, they can. I wouldn't blame them because they want to win now. They have a championship window. They want to win it. But yeah, I mean, that's basically my take on it.
Yeah. Brutal.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's gonna do it for episode 22. Make sure to follow us on social media at Dubs Only Sports on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And then you can watch the full episodes on YouTube and Spotify.
Spotify.
We've been saying for a while now that we're gonna do a video on all our like not all our comments, but like our favorite comments. And with the NFL
Hate
season
comments,
coming
baby.
to you guys, we love you guys. Like to be fair, all the comments we get, whether they're hate comments or love
We
comments,
love
we love
them
them
though.
all,
We
to be
love them.
honest. But yeah, that video is gonna be coming really quickly because there's gonna be a little bit of a dry spell between NFL season ending and then the baseball season starting. We've got NBA finals coming up. We've got the Champions League starting up again in February. So yeah, we've just a lot of stuff, but that's going to be one of the things. So make sure that you go to our Instagram, go to our TikTok as well, and comment. Feel free to comment on other people's comments. We've been seeing a lot of that. We love seeing the comments. We love reading the comments. Dylan loves responding to the comments. I would just like to point out again, I am not responding to any of these. I have no, I have nothing to do with any of that. That is all Dylan, not me. Real talk.
Yeah.
So I just don't care that much. So because I know I'm right. I don't need to express
I
that.
like trolling some of you guys because I think it's funny. You guys think you're right, and then I tell you guys something, you guys get really defensive about it, and I think it's funny. But I haven't been doing it as much recently, but I might try to keep doing it just to get some good laughs because it is kind of funny, but we'll see how it goes. We'll definitely make that video on the hate comments. We'll have all this new content coming out, but that's basically it for from us today. We'll see you in episode number 23, Super Bowl predictions probably. So that's basically gonna do it for us today, and we'll see you later. Peace.
Bye guys. Go birds.